Dude, I feel good. Golden sun on your face, warmth. There's a studio. Look, plane in the background.
Yeah, there's a plane that looks like a shooting star in the background.
Yeah.
Every podcast at Basecamp, so for the audience that's listening to, Basecamp is the creator event we've been at. I've had such little time, so they've all been no prep, and every podcast gets even less prep. So yesterday, Max, I didn't think I could get less prep than Max, but here we're just on a lake, threw it up.
It's on a lake.
It's going on. I'm here with Andy Jiang.
Jiang.
Go ahead and introduce yourself the way you like to be introduced.
Yeah, so my name is Andy Jiang. I tell stories online that are very bizarre, interesting, fascinating, from history, current events, and basically anything that I think is really, really intriguing to me. And it's something that you normally wouldn't see or believe would be true, but it is true. And I am just really excited to be here with someone like Ozzy.
All right, awesome. Welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired with Aussie Films. I like to start off every episode with my why behind the show, which is I want to inspire you to invest in soul wealth. So not the classic wealth, which is measuring your money, possessions, or achievements, but soul wealth, which is measuring success by relationships and memories. Andy, this guy is friggin' one of the best people I've ever met. He's just dishing out compliments. He has such a good soul. He loves people. The first thing I'm gonna ask, I don't know if there's any story behind it, but your necklace,
Ooh.
is there a story behind it?
Story behind the necklace. I just honestly think it looks cool. I have 3 very similar necklaces.
Yeah.
One is silver, one is black, one comes in like little like katana-like shape. It's just minimalistic fashion. Yeah.
And you have a tattoo of a little moon on your neck.
The moon actually came from Basecamp Day 2 when we did the temporary.
Yes.
We were doing that, and I was like, oh, like growing up, my parents were always kind of like very much in the traditional Asian category. So they were like, yeah, no tats. Literally, we had a conversation. I remember sitting at dinner table, just like testing the water. I was like, so if I got a tat, well, what would you feel? And they were like, yeah, you would no longer be our son if you got a tat. Like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, so I came here and they were doing temporary tattoos. I've never had one. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool. So I got a butterfly on my arm. I got a little solar system on my arm. And I got a little moon on my neck. And it was just like very simple things that I thought would look cool. And yeah, maybe I'll get a real tattoo and show my parents and see what happens.
Wait, so do you want a tattoo?
I think I would want something small, just like something that means a lot to me, symbolism-wise. Nothing too big, not like a sleeve.
You would never get a tattoo just because it looked cool?
No, yeah, I think I need some sort of meaning behind it.
I agree. I don't think I want a tattoo either, and my parents definitely don't want me to have one.
Yeah.
Going on that Asian parent thing.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows this, that it's like the classic, I want my son to be a doctor or a lawyer. As a video creator, I know you're still in school. Do you feel like you have the permission to be a creator coming from your family?
Yeah, that is really interesting because from the very start, I think there was definitely pressure from when I started creating, when I started even thinking or even rationalizing that this could be a full-time job someday, that there was definitely some sort of pressure within me that I was like, okay, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing, college, traditional job, very stable, very normal. And this is what I want to do. This is my passion. And there's definitely some sort of dichotomy there. So I remember thinking just when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm never going to make this a full-time thing just because there was something that probably just didn't make any sense given like the whole societal expectations for what I was supposed to do, my parents' expectations. And then at some point, I think I really came to the realization that especially talking to some of my friends who have really, really strict Asian parents, I think I got very lucky in the sense that my parents more so just want what's best for me. If I say something like, genuinely, I think this is what's best for me, I'm passionate about it, even it's something like dropping out of school, they would eventually come to terms with supporting it. Unlike some more traditional Asian parents who would basically be like, no, like what I say is law. You can't do anything else. So after like understanding that they literally just want what's best for me, very, very, caring, kind parents, I went up to them and I asked them, I was like, can I drop out? Because at the time it was sophomore year, I was like, I'm not deriving any value from school. It feels like it's just like eating up of my time. I know what I'm passionate about. I know what I want to do. like many other creators, it's just you kind of find that spark and you're like, holy cow, like I've never seen anything like this. Like this is the perfect balance of just like work, of being able to support yourself financially, and being able to create something meaningfully impactful. So I was like, I know this is what I want to do. And I talked to my parents about it. And of course, at first they were just like, no, like you cannot drop out of school. You're literally like, you've worked so hard to get into college. Like we've worked so hard to get you here, which is all valid. But I think eventually after like, I just explained my perspective more, they were surprisingly really, really understanding. And I think they definitely deep down still felt that it was wrong, like I was making a mistake. But I think there is a level of trust where they were like, okay, like if you genuinely feel like this is what's good for you, if you feel like this will make you happy, then yeah, we'll support you for it. And I didn't actually drop out because I was like, it's kind of iffy, which scary in a way. And after all, I have like a year and a half left, so may as well just stick through it. But I do think that having the support of my parents is the main reason why like I've been able to continue creating, as opposed to like a couple of my friends who basically like have no support whatsoever. Equally passionate, equally talented at what they do, just no support system. And I think that really like impacts a lot of creators.
You know, that's really interesting. I don't come from an Asian family, which the stereotype's always like Asian, Middle Eastern. But
very much.
My dad, I guess my dad was first generation from Germany, and he wasn't so set on me doing one thing. I think he wanted me to do business. He was an accountant, but when I wanted to drop out, which I did drop out, my dad supported me all my whole life. Every single endeavor I've ever done, he supported me. He went to my basketball games, my football games, supported me. And when I told him I wanted to drop out, it was so weird because he was like, first of all, he was angry, which was just weird. It was unlike his character. But then he proposed an idea where he basically said, I want you to write a letter to yourself that says, like, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to fail and I'm going to go back to school. Okay. He literally wanted me to say like sign a letter that said like, when I fail, I'm going back to school.
That's awful.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I don't want to make my dad sound bad. He's the most loving person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I used to have a really bad motivation. And that motivation was I wanted to make it on YouTube, quote unquote, make it. Because what does that mean?
Yeah.
I quote unquote make it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to prove people wrong. So like in high school, I was bullied a little bit. No one took my lunch money, but but people kind of made fun of me for making videos. And then after that moment with the letter, I had so much motivation to I don't think I was necessarily creating because I loved it. I was creating because I wanted to prove people wrong. And I think that motivation is so bad because it comes from a place of not being enough for yourself. And when you're not enough for yourself, no one's approval is gonna fill it. But to have the happy ending on that story, I basically told my dad like, all right, I'll sign this letter, whatever. And I had this whole vision in my head that day, my mind was racing. I had this vision in my head of like writing the letter, putting it up on my wall, and then every day, 6 a.m. to freaking 2 a.m., just grind, looking at the letter, using it as motivation. And I told him I was gonna write it, and the next day, he came up to me and he said, I'm sorry that I asked you to do that. That was wrong. And I support you. And ever since he supported me. Wow. So it was weird because I almost think that because he did such a friggin' like slap to the face and I still wanted to do it, he could see that I was serious about it. Almost like, I don't know if that was his intention, but I think if I had caved in, it would have been, I don't know. I think the way I reacted showed him, oh, wow, he really cares about this. And another thing that's interesting is I think the number one thing that holds people back from pursuing their creator dreams is parents.
100%.
Because parents don't understand it. And I used to think that was a terrible thing. I was like, damn, like when I'm a parent, I'm going to support my kids, which I am. But now I actually think it's a good thing because I don't think parents have any bad intentions in mind. 100%. I actually think if they're fully supportive, maybe that could be a sign they don't care. Maybe they're just like, oh, you do whatever you want with your life.
Interesting.
Almost like the parents that let their kids drink in high school or because they don't care. But now there's so many people who want to be a creator. It's the most demanding job in the world. YouTube's the #1 job in America that kids want to be. And I think, dude, if there wasn't this barrier to entry of parents being like, don't do that, like, imagine how much freaking competition we'd have.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's good to have that barrier to entry because it filters out the people who are really serious and the people who are just doing it because fame or money or,
I've never heard that perspective, but no, that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, I don't know what I wanted to say about that, but it's just interesting.
Yeah. I will say, that strikes a chord because one of my best friends in college, my roommate, freshman sophomore year, very passionate about content, was like a vlog, lifestyle kind of guy. And the reason he ended up quitting, even though like he was the exact same boat as us, like genuinely passionate, like knew for a fact that if he wanted to do one thing for a living, it would be this. He had to stop because his mom and dad were just like, it's not viable, you know. They really just put the foot down and said, you can't, like, you just cannot like pursue this full time. And it just was something that was kind of really, really like, even to me, just like sad to see.
Yeah.
You could tell how just devastated he was by the fact that he just couldn't go out and do what he loved. And it's just something as simple as like parents. It's, you know, they're at the end of the day, they support you financially. You rely on them until you're older, at least until you get like a job. So they basically, if they wanted to, they could control your life. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of people. So there's also a whole side of like, even if some people are passionate enough, they just end up not being able to pursue this career because the parents are just like, no, there's like foot down.
Yeah. You know? Well, the interesting thing about it is, I just lost my train of thought. But the interesting thing about without parents, dude, I'm blanking so hard.
You're so good. You're so good.
Yeah.
I think another thing for me is that when you come across someone who genuinely like has that passion, I think the great thing is that even from base camp, I've talked to like Olivia, I've talked to Jeffrey. There are people who traditionally basically have already achieved the American dream. They're in these like great finance jobs, corporate jobs, consulting, data science jobs. And then they're just like, even today when they're already like financially stable, able to have a job that foreseeably can increase in the amount of like revenue, wages that they can make. It's really inspiring to see how they're willing to even like quit and even to just like entertain the idea of like dropping everything they've worked towards and just pursue the passion that they sort of didn't get a chance to do in college and high school. So I think if someone does have that passion deep down, it'll be eventually it'll be something that they realize, in my opinion.
The other thing I remembered what I was going to say is, I blanked twice, is your parents give you everything. So if you come from a good household, they raise you, they treat you well, they pay for your meals, and almost every parent's one big wish is go to college and get a degree. So even though they're not in our generation, they're living right now, but they don't understand the value of YouTube the way we understand it. And now that Mr. Beast has his products in Walmart and stuff, they're starting to understand it a bit more and a bit more. And I think as the creator economy grows and there's more examples to be like, hey dad, look, Mr. Beast just sponsored the Charlotte Hornets and stuff like that. But it's one thing where you might know this career is a good option. It's a good option for me, but they don't know that. And then it feels like betrayal because they gave you everything your entire life and they wanted one wish, which was that you would go to school and get a degree. And then you're like, have the audacity to be like, I don't think you've given me everything, but I don't think this decision's right. And it's hard because I think in one sense that's true. You like, who are you to like tell your parents that who've given you everything what you want to do? But at the same time, sorry. Here, hold this for a second. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that, Olivia. Heaven.
Thank you, my love.
Yes. Oh.
Good. There we go.
All right, fill up for like this.
Chill.
Okay. All right, go back, sit down.
Am I in the shot?
Yeah, you are. I just took raise the camera up. Yeah,
I think you were saying...
Yeah, I was saying your parents give you everything, and then they have one request of you, which is go to college and get this degree.
Yeah.
And you understand something they don't, which is you understand that the YouTube job is a viable job. You understand that AI might automate these things. You understand, of course, neither you nor your parents can predict the future.
Yeah.
You don't know. But there's a lot of situations in where, for the current economy, you might know better than your parents, but who are you to tell the person who's given you everything, like, this is the right way? And it's hard because I think that you can make the choice, which I made the choice to kind of be like, I'm going to do not what you want me to do.
Yeah.
But I know that if it works out and I have a fruitful career, that my parents are going to be happy because what they really want is the best for me.
Exactly.
But it's just that moment from making that decision to how they define success, because it's not even how I define it, it's how they define it.
Exactly.
And I do think, though, with the whole soul wealth thing, that my parents are just seeing how much I'm traveling and how happy I am and all the crazy things that are, and I think they do feel grateful that I'm successful in that way.
Yeah, and on that point, I genuinely think that is such a cool just concept and value for you to have, because it is something that for me I've been trying to balance with a lot, in the sense that obviously I want to be able to financially support my parents, retire them, financially support any family that I may have in the future, friends, relatives. But at the same time, it's what I realized I derive real happiness from, real meaning, real fulfillment in my life is just through good, genuine connections with the people I love, with friends I love, and then just experiences with them, and just being able to enjoy life in a way that is very simple, and just something as simple as being out here in nature and sitting here having a conversation with you, Ozzy, and it's just very, very peaceful in a way. And I feel like money just sort of really overrides your brain and society's expectations, where you kind of have to make money to survive, but people start deriving happiness from it. And I don't think that truly is happiness. I mean, you can use happiness to, of course, get to be able to make more meaningful connections, experiences. But at the end of the day, for me, it's that's the core, again, soul wealth. That's what you really need to be happy. And that's why you see a lot of even billionaires go out there and then they're just made all this money, grinded their entire life, and still they get interviewed. They're I'm just not happy with myself. I'm still insecure. I'm still all of these things that they thought money would help alleviate. It just doesn't.
Something interesting I was talking to Max about along these lines is at Creator Camp, there's a whole spread of numerical success. So some people have a lot more followers, some people have made a lot more money, some people are broke, some people, everyone comes from a different background, and I'm not just meaning different place they're from and upbringing, I mean different numeric success in their journey. But something I find really interesting is that we're all in the same location. We're all at base camp. And base camp is just an example for what I'm saying. But it's if everyone here is in the same place, but half of them made a certain amount of money, half of them had a certain amount of followers, what does it even matter? Because we're all in the same place.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how that happens. And there's been other times in my life where I've sat down with millionaires, or I've sat down with people of millions of followers, and I'm just in this moment, which is the only true moment. I don't know if you've ever heard the quote, if you think about the past, you'll get depressed. If you think about the future, you'll get anxiety. But if you want a present, live in the present. And it comes from the idea that if you're always living in the good old days, or even if something bad happened to you in your past and you're always thinking about it, you can never go back and change the past. So I think that depression is synonymous with hopelessness. Depression isn't sadness. Depression is synonymous with hopelessness. And if your hope is to change something about the past, if your hope is to go back to a time in the past, you literally will never be able to do that. So like living in the past leads to depression. Anxiety, to me, what anxiety is, it's just the disparity between what you want and what you have. And so if you're thinking about the future, like, oh, I can't wait till I have 1 million subscribers, or I can't wait till I have this money or this house or this girl likes me or this.
Yeah.
Well, anything that you obsessively think about in that way, you can't have in the current moment. So it creates that anxiety. And I think that's why so many creators are in such a go, such a hustle culture, because and it's not that they're like extremely anxious or unhappy in the present moment, but they think that there's somewhere better to be.
Yeah.
And I always talk about like Mr. Beast. I think Mr. Beast loves what he does. Yeah. But I listened to his recent Cole and Samir 2-hour podcast, and he's like, bro, my life is not fun. Like I'm so under pressure. Elon Musk has said the same thing. I'm so under pressure. I'm doing these things. And so I bet those guys, it's not that they don't want to be where they're at, but I bet they would like do anything to like go back to a simpler time. It's like, it's like, why are you in such a rush to be somewhere that you don't even know is better than where you're at? And there's a funny but deep quote in The Office. You know, Andy says, he says, you don't know you're in the good old days till you leave them. And I like something about that, and I don't like something about it. The thing that I like is I should start with the thing I don't like. The thing I don't like is that it implies that the good old days were in the past.
Okay.
But what I like about it, when I think that's true, is that the good old days are always.
Oh.
So every stage of your life, there's something that you'll miss. That's what I'm realizing. Like when I was in college, I was so eager to drop out. And I don't think that I made the wrong decision, but I can't tell you how many times what I would do to go back and be in my dorm room. I literally would do anything to go back and be in my dorm room and mess around with all these kids. And in high school, I remember playing lacrosse practice. They'd be making us run like burpees and like conditioning us to like, you're like suffering. And I remember the coaches would say, one day you're gonna wish you could do anything to be back here at lacrosse. And I do, I wish I could be there.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, and we're gonna leave base camp, and one day we're gonna be like, I wish I could be back there. So why is everyone in such a friggin' rush to get somewhere that they don't even, like every period of life has its beautiful moments.
Yeah.
And there's not really a question here, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, many things you said resonated with me. I think from the very start, when you were talking about how we're always, just people in general, it feels like society nowadays, especially in the US, people are always in a rush to get to that next big achievement. You know, as you said, like a subscriber milestone, like a goal they have, a girl. It's really interesting. Yeah, I read a book recently called Grit. It's by Angela Duckworth. It describes how the one main recurring characteristic across like a pool of like 500 really, really successful people is something called grit, which is long-term perseverance. And essentially you can boil it down to long-term perseverance for one topic, passion and perseverance for one topic.
Yeah.
And what is also discussed in that book is the fact that, a smaller concept, but when people say they want to like get happiness, they're like, oh, like I'll be happy when I achieve this goal.
Yeah.
If I, get X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But what she found, what Angela Duckworth, who did years of research on this, what she found was that the happiness doesn't come from achieving the goal. The happiness, what it does come from is being on the way to achieve the goal. So you're in the process of achieving the goal.
Yeah.
Things are going well. It seems like you're going to achieve the goal. But the very moment you do achieve the goal, there's not as much happiness as, for example, like the path.
Yeah.
So and this is extremely like, in my own life, I've seen this so many times. Like I'm like, oh, if I get this one piece of success, like I will be so happy.
Yeah.
And then it happens and I'm just like, oh, like it wasn't really what I thought it'd be. And then I just find myself chasing after the next big shiny object, which I know you were talking about, which honestly to me is like, it just didn't make sense at first. And then I realized it really is the sort of happiness that you sort of have a misconstrued idea of what happiness should be.
Yeah.
Which is like success. But again, this goes back to the whole idea of like maybe what true stable happiness comes from is just being at peace with yourself, being able to like meaningfully connect with others, connect with experiences, have passions.
We had a camera overheating. We switched locations, and Andy was just talking about how
the thought of a goal is more enjoyable than actually achieving the goal. And I believe that this has been studied too in gambling, like a slot machine, that they actually program the slot machines to show you almost winning.
Yeah.
Because like as it clicks and you're seeing the fruits line up or whatever the slot machine is, it's like the hope that you'll win is actually almost as enjoyable as actually winning. So slot machines, the way they get you to replay is by making you so close to winning. It's not just random in the sense that you're trying to get 5 fruits together and get random. It wants you to get 4 fruits together and not get the 5th fruit together. But there's something interesting that I learned on El Camino de Santiago, which I don't know if you know what that is.
I'm not familiar.
It's a 500-mile walk across Spain. It's the same walk that Apostle James in the Bible did, but it's not necessarily a religious thing. People will do it to have an experience with God. People will do it after a loved one dies. People will do it when they're lost in life. They want a career choice. So everyone has what's called a search. So I walked 200 miles of that this summer.
Wow.
And one lesson that I learned was very similar to what you were saying. And essentially what you were saying is enjoy the journey because the destination's not that great.
Yes.
But everyone throws around enjoy the journey. And I almost don't like the phrase anymore because it doesn't hold the value of which it really means. Like, it's not that the phrase is bad. I just feel that people say it all the time and they don't live it or actually believe it.
Got it.
And so anyways, I'm waking up in Spain, walking 20 miles a day.
Yeah.
And for the first 3 days, I'm walking with 2 kids that are 22 years old. They're gym. One of them was almost an Olympic swimmer. I try to go to the gym a lot. So we got 3 really athletic kids.
Yeah.
People all ages, all fitness levels, from fat to fit to skinny, all ages walk this trail.
Yeah.
And because we were fit young kids, we were getting up early, walking as fast as we could, and finishing fast. And part of that was kind of just from, I don't know if it was pride or what it was, but it was just kind of from the mentality of like, we're athletes, let's push ourselves. Most of the times when we got to the destination we had set for the day, we would walk even longer. But on the third or fourth day, the 2 kids I was walking with, I woke up feeling a little bit sick. Probably because I just started walking 20 miles a day.
Yeah. But
the 2 kids I was walking with, they weren't feeling sick, and actually they wanted to race each other.
Oh, wow.
So they're like, we're going to race the 20-mile walk today.
Yeah.
And I'm so competitive. I knew I was like, I cannot put my body through a race today.
Yeah.
So I was like, you guys walk together. I'll walk alone today.
Yeah.
And some people walk the whole trail alone. Some you kind of walk however you want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so the day that I walk alone, while I'm walking, there's other people walking on the Camino. It's really easy to meet people because everyone wants to meet each other.
Yes.
They're all it's like a hostel. I don't know. Hostels are very friendly. Everyone wants to meet each other.
Yeah.
This story does have a purpose to our conversation. But anyways, the day that my friends raced each other and I walked slower, I met a girl, I met a bunch of friends. By the end of the walk, I got to the same destination, but I had made way more friends than the previous 3 days. And what I realized was that the Camino reflects life. In this case, the destination was the city that we were walking to where we were going to sleep at. But in life, the destination is your dream. It's like your dream house, your dream goal, 1 million subscribers, 1 million monthly listeners, whatever your dream is, you make it. And then I realized in the first 3 days is what most people do in life. We were running to our destination. It wasn't like we were miserable or unhappy, but we were not enjoying the journey. And on the day that I was sick, that was supposed to be the least enjoyable day because my friends left me, I was sick. I just walked slower. I said hi to everyone next to me, and I made my best friends that I stayed with for the entire journey. And it's just because I went slower, I was able to meet people more, look around more, take in nature. And I was like, dude, that's so funny because that's literally life. We pick a destination, we sprint. And so that was like the physical manifestation of that in my life.
no, you just don't value the journey. And yeah, it is a bit of a cliche nowadays, but it really is true. And I think once you really internalize that and try to just slow down and take a look at, okay, like, how far have I come? Not just like, oh, who else is achieving whatnot? Who else is like so far beyond where I am at my age? How far have I come? What have I done? What have I accomplished? Who have I met? Who am I today compared to who I was yesterday? The journey is just a much better way to think about life, I think.
Yeah.
And if anything, if nothing else, it's more, let's say like healthy. Like it just makes me happier to think about it that way. Because as they say, another cliche, but comparison. Exactly. So
when people say comparison is the thief of joy, I think that quote generally implies comparing upwards. So what I mean by comparing upwards is that
yes,
you look at someone who's achieved more than you and it makes you feel bad about yourself. And that can be anything from, I'm on Instagram, this person's life looks more fun than mine, or I see another YouTuber, they look more successful than me, or I see this, they look, what I find interesting about that quote, and it's not the quote's fault, but I feel that most people don't acknowledge the same thing for looking down. So I think everyone's had a moment in their life. And luckily at Basecamp where we're at with all these creative people, I don't feel like this generally happens, but everyone's at a moment in their life where they look at someone. It's not that they look at them and they're just thinking bad thoughts, but they look at someone and they go, that person's not worthy of my time. In the sense that, like all this self-help is saying, surround yourself with successful people, surround yourself with people who are going to elevate you. Like reach up, reach up, reach up. And then people can get in this mindset where they don't feel like, it's not that they dislike someone, but maybe they don't feel that they're so busy and with the goals that they want to accomplish, they don't feel like they should hang out with someone or give someone the time of day or, you know. And I find this set of comparison is equally as bad as comparing upwards and thinking your own life is bad, because when you look at someone else and say, oh, they're not worthy of my time or I'm better than them. Well, first of all, it builds pride and ego.
Of course.
But second of all, you have no idea who that person's connected to. You have no idea what they can bring into your life. And that doesn't mean what they can bring into your life is they're going to elevate my career, although that could be something. But what if they're joy? Maybe that person could be your future wife. Maybe their sister's your future wife. And so everyone is someone's friend, family member, and cousin. And I think it's interesting, that idea of comparing downward. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's in a way inevitable. They're just by nature, there's going to be people more successful. By nature, there's going to be people less successful. The way I have always thought about it, though, is that it doesn't really make sense to me to only surround yourself with people who are better. And that basically means that I want to intentionally make sure that I surround myself with people who, I mean, objectively are not as far along the path as I am. And what I mean by that is, for me, I would say a big source of fulfillment in my life doesn't come necessarily from views, from, you know, monetary success, from anything like that, numbers. It comes from just being able to give back and being able to just pay it forward, be able to basically help mentor other people who are equally as passionate about content or fitness or anything else that I might be a little bit ahead at, help them get to where I am. Just because when I was younger, there were so many people who, you know, by the logic of, oh, like you should surround yourself with only people who are better. When I was younger, I had mentors who were completely willing to, completely for free, sacrifice their energy, time, everything, just to make sure that I was able to get resources and make sure that they were able to help me along my journey. So for me to understand that and see, wow, like the reason where I am today, and the reason where honestly anyone on earth is where they are, is because of other people who were more successful, who in a way stooped down to their level to guide them and help them achieve that level of success. To me, that feels like it's just entirely selfish if you just say, okay, I'm not going to associate myself with people who are less successful. I'm going to just like completely only surround myself with the gurus, the more successful. It just doesn't make sense to me, because it's so fulfilling to me. The most fulfilling feeling is being able to do something for someone and then have that reflect in their work, see improvement, see someone achieve something because of something you helped them with. And that's just an entirely different level of just like satisfaction and meaning in life, I think.
What came to mind as you were saying all that was something I've thought about a lot recently, which is my belief that time is the best expression of love.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So what I mean by that, I mean, you can understand from hearing it, but it's, you will almost always give your time in accordance to how much you love something or someone. You have a list of friends, and varying on who calls you, you'll pick up the phone. They said, like, if your mom calls you, you almost always pick up the phone.
Oh, yeah.
It's your mom.
Yeah.
And you love your mom. And if it's some random classmate you met once, you'll pick up the phone if you're doing nothing, but maybe you're not gonna.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I think, about that idea as time. There's time as an expression of love. And we were just talking about how, we're so behind on work, we have so much to do.
Yeah.
Think about our parents. Our parents, maybe they weren't creators. I don't know exactly how hard they worked, but just like we're behind work and we're busy and we have all these things, so did your parents and so did my parents.
Oh, yeah.
When they decided to have us.
When they decided to have us, yeah.
And then they dedicated probably half our lives until we were 12, and then 35% of their lives until we were 18.
Yeah.
Just because they love us.
Yeah.
They we're willing to say, this human, I love this human so much that even though I feel that my work is so important, that all these things I do are so important, that I'm willing to give up half my life, half my time for the next 12 years. And I always thought that it's a really interesting thought.
I agree. What they say is it's just unconditional love. And it really is really, really, really powerful thing if you think about it. It's just, you're not going to find that love anywhere else. That's a very unique bond only with your parents. And it is a huge sacrifice to have children. So it's...
I don't know though, that if I would agree if it's unconditional.
Really?
I think it's closer to unconditional. Like when I give you the example, this is a conversation we had off camera, is if you have a girlfriend, your girlfriend cheats on you, you're not going to love her as much because it's a condition. I think the same could be said with your parents in both directions. Like if you have a dad who hits you and he abuses you, you're not going to love him as much. Whereas if your parents have a son, and they won't say this, no parent will flat out say this, but I think this might be a wild statement. I feel like if you have a son who constantly disrespects you, abuses substances, I think that the love is conditional, but the parent to kid ratio, parent to child ratio is probably the least conditional on earth that we generally find.
I see what you mean, but it is closer to anything than any of our relationships outside of family. And for me, that just on the topic of sacrifice, it's just time is the biggest thing you can sacrifice to someone. Because if you think about it, money, potentially infinite. You can have resources potentially infinite, but time, everyone is on the same clock. So that truly is the universal currency that you can use to dedicate and show your commitment to someone, show how much you care. And I also think that's why it's so important to just be able to, when you're developing close friendships, just be able to help people out, even if you're busy, dedicate time to being able to hear them out if they're going through something. And I find that for me, whenever someone is able to just put aside their immediate stresses, and if I'm going through something, just they're able to sit there and just listen to me, it's just the most, I think it's a very powerful bond you form. That's how really close relationships for me have been formed in the past. And I genuinely think that if I were to ever lose track of the ability to dedicate time to people, sacrificing time to people, then I just wouldn't be myself, because that's a core part of what makes my relationships, or at least my very close relationships, the way they are. And I think that's just by nature. And even with dating, you'll have relationships in the past where people will buy you an anniversary gift, and it's just, you can tell it took them 10 minutes. They went on Amazon, bought something. And then other people will go out of their way and literally make something, make art. It took them maybe tens, dozens, hundreds of hours. There's a difference, there's a difference in the way the gift will be received, the gift will be cherished.
My age is it? My son's it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It's alright, zoned out.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's very special the way you can anyone on earth, no matter how fortunate you are, no matter how financially successful you are, time is always something that you can give, and it's just across all cultures. I feel like my limited view is that it just signifies like dedication.
Can you take your mic off?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is such a technical difficulty. I don't know why this mic just stopped connecting. Sorry, viewers. Dude, I feel so bad. I gave you the worst podcast experience ever. I keep zoning out because of equipment issues, and I feel really bad about that. Okay, but Andy, and speaking of time, we're gonna just put this one in the middle of us. Doesn't matter because I throw it in Adobe Podcast.
Yeah.
Speaking of time, I hear a lot of people say, like, when you talk about the topic of giving back and loving others and helping people, a lot of people say, I will do something when I'm older. Like when I make more money, I'll give more money. Or when I can hire more people, I'll give my time more places. Or people think of giving as only these fiscal properties, that I can give people gifts, I can give people money. And because I'm a college student like we are, I'm a broke creator, I can't do those things. And there was a phrase that I heard that I friggin' love, and it basically says this: the best way to live is love. The best expression of love is time. The best time to love is now. So I'm going to say it one more time. It says, the best way to live is love. The best expression of love is time. The best time to love is now. Yeah. And it's interesting. In a second here, I'm going to get to my outro question, which relates to all this. But yeah, I don't know. I think I find that topic to be particularly interesting. So, because we're on a little bit of a time crunch, my outro question that I ask everyone, it's from the perspective of reverse engineering life. People are always thinking about achievements, goals, status, yet none of those things really play into your legacy. I mean, I could give examples, whereas maybe Kobe Bryant will be remembered as a really great basketball player, or someone will be remembered, Steve Jobs will be remembered for what he did with Apple. But even in those situations, like someone like Kobe Bryant, even in a situation where he did so much for basketball, people generally remember him for his mentality. People generally remember Steve Jobs for his innovation. Yes, he's tied to these great accomplishments, but what they're remembered is for the innovation. And anyways, the question is, when you die, what do you want people to say about you? And I think that's interesting because very few people on their deathbed will be like, I want people to know how successful my channel was, or I want them to talk about Aussie Films had the biggest podcast, or they almost always want to be remembered for how they treated people. Yet in day-to-day life, their to-do list is all optimized for achievements. But if they died today, they wouldn't even want to be remembered for those things. So my question is, what do you want people to say about you when you die?
Well, definitely, baseline, I want to be remembered as good person, very giving person, someone who was able to basically just understand that where I am or where I managed to be was entirely, or very large part of it was because of others, their guidance, their ability to just be very, very kind, giving, and mentor me. The other part of that is just someone who was extremely, I think, dedicated to my craft, really wanted to just improve on any bit of storytelling I could, really, really hard worker, able to just understand that to separate myself as a storyteller and as someone who is able to convey emotions, convey meaning, make impactful stories. It was something that I worked on for years and years. So it was a product of both commitment and also just the ability to like have people to talk to and have people help me in my journey. So definitely those two. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't given this question much thought at all. It's very much like,
I do realize when I ask people this question, it's not really fair, because how are you going to decide in this moment what you want to be remembered? But I think the value in the question is more for the guests when they leave.
Yeah.
So do your best now and know that it's not your friggin' life's legacy based on this, you know?
Yeah. More than anything, I just want to be remembered as someone who made an impact. I don't want to be remembered as a creator who basically created, entertained, but it was more so like meaningless entertainment. I really think what matters to me is the ability to influence in a positive way, and the ability to impact in a positive way through stories. So that is something that's crucial to me. And I think in general, as long as I'm remembered as someone who like inherently was a great person, who did great things and wanted to be as good as possible, that is, to me, satisfactory. I would be extremely happy if that was the case.
Well, Andy, thank you for coming on. I really considered this an expression of your love. And I feel like you gave a lot to me, and there's many times where I messed up the camera. I don't feel like I performed my best, and you just didn't make me feel bad for it. And you've had countless amazing conversations on and off camera, and I just appreciate you coming on and dealing with all the troubles.
It was nothing.
All right, let's hug it out, and then we'll take a Polaroid. Oh, wait. One thing I do need you to do.
Yes.
We need thumbnail photos, but I don't want your knees to get in. So try to extend it like this. Yeah, and then just whatever you do. Okay. All right. That's a wrap. I'm going to take a Polaroid now.